Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we are back in the kitchen and we are going to make homemade stuffed Italian pasta shells. So let's get into it. All right, guys, to get things started, we're going to preheat our oven to 375 degrees. So we want to get the oven going, and then I got my pot here that's got some olive oil that I like to put in my water when I'm going to boil pasta, and then salt. Okay, so I've got that in the water and I've got it going, trying to get the water boiling before I'm going to add my pasta. These are the pasta shells that I got. You can use whatever pasta shells that maybe are your favorite or that you like. I probably won't use that whole entire box. I'll put maybe 3/4 of the box into the pot because I'm not going to need all of the shells. In this cast iron pan here, I've got a little bit of oil again. And I'm going to cook up my Italian sausage. I've got a pound of Italian sausage right here that I'll put in the pan and get it cooked. That'll be ready to go into the mix. All right, guys, so while my pasta water is getting to a boil and my Italian sausage is cooking, I'm going to cut up some parsley that I'm going to want to add to my mix. It doesn't have to be a lot of parsley. It's not necessarily for any kind of flavor or anything. It's more of a color thing. Just add some nice green pop to the mixture and to the dish. So as my Italian sausage cooks, I really want to try to get it into pieces that are as small as possible. Like I don't want large chunks. Like when you bite into a piece of pasta or a stuffed shell, I don't want necessarily a giant chunk of Italian sausage. It's not that it's the worst thing ever. That's just kind of my personal preference. So as this cooks up, I am going to try and break it down and make it into small hamburger pieces of sausage. All right, guys, my water is starting to boil, so I'm going to go ahead and add the shells. Like I said, I don't need all of them, so leave a few in the box there. And as soon as I get them into the water, I want to give them a stir just so they don't stick together. And I'm going to cook these al dente, so probably for about 8 minutes I'm going to cook them. I don't want them to be all the way done. I want them to finish cooking in the dish in the oven. Guys, one thing I'll mention about the Italian sausage real quick is you don't have to use Italian sausage. You could use whatever kind of meat you might like to put into the stuffed shells, and you don't even have to use meat. You could just do like an all cheese mix. You could maybe make like meatballs and cut those up into small pieces and put those in. So it's another one of those things. You can kind of do it however you want to, or whatever tastes best to you. All right, our Italian sausage here is cooking down quite a bit. Again, I'm trying to a few kind of bigger pieces in here. I still want to keep working on breaking that up. Again, just getting them into kind of hamburger size, smaller pieces. It's looking pretty good. The nice thing about this is it doesn't have to be perfect. If there's a few bigger chunks in there, it's not the end of the world. And then our pasta over here, we have just a couple minutes left for it to boil. And then as soon as it's done boiling, I'll immediately take it out and put it in the drainer and run it under some cool water to cool off the shells and stop the cooking process. Okay, so while those things just finish cooking, I can go ahead and start my filler mix. And I've got 2 containers of ricotta cheese that are 15 ounce. I like to use a little bit more than that, so I might use 2.5 containers of ricotta cheese. I just like to make sure that I have plenty of filling. And I'm always someone who I'd rather have too much than too little. So it says use 15 ounces, but honestly, I'll probably use, I'm sorry, it says use 30 ounces to 15 ounces, and I'll probably use more like 40. Again, just kind of making sure that I have plenty to make the dish. Okay, so my pasta shells are done cooking. I'm going to go ahead and drain those and just get them running under a little bit of cool water here. I'll continue making my filling. So yeah, I would say that's about 40 ounces of ricotta cheese. I'll add my parsley. You're going to want 2 eggs, 2 large eggs. I'm going to add that to the mix here. And I'm going to get that, start mixing this up. You can see here, it's got that nice green to it with the parsley, and I'm going to continue to mix in the egg and mix this all together. All right, guys, I just turned off the heat to this pan. My Italian sausage is done and ready. So I'm just going to leave this sit here for a few minutes. My pasta is sitting in the sink, cooling and draining. Okay, guys, so one of the next things that I need to do is I need to prepare my mozzarella cheese and get that ready to go into the mix. And I've got 2 8-ounce blocks here. And just a cooking tip from me personally, I don't like using the pre-bagged shredded mozzarella cheese because that has like a wax film on it and it just doesn't melt and bake as good if you actually freshly shred your mozzarella. I like to do it in our KitchenAid. We have this attachment that I can shred cheese with. Okay, guys, so I got all my mozzarella shredded. The recipe calls for 2 cups of shredded mozzarella, which I have maybe a little bit more than that right here. And I actually have some extra shredded mozzarella from the 2 blocks, which if you're like me, I like mine extra cheesy, so I definitely will use all that. I'm going to continue to make my mixture here. I've got my Italian sausage in this dish, drained the grease, and I'm going to slowly add this to the mix because I don't want to overwhelm the mix with meat. I like a good ratio, so I will start by adding just some of it and start mixing that together here. And I'm just looking to see like about what I feel like is a good little meat to cheese ratio. That's probably all I'm going to use right here. So you can see in my mix at this point, it's just, you know, a nice where every bite you're going to get some Italian sausage, but it's also not like where it's just a shell that's full of meat and you're not getting a lot of the mixture. We're going to add in the mozzarella. So the recipe, we've got our 2 eggs, we've got our ricotta cheese, we've got our Italian sausage, we've got our shredded mozzarella. I'm also going to add some Parmesan cheese, and this is shredded Parmesan. You could do grated Parmesan. It's kind of your preference. It calls for 3/4 a cup, but again, to be honest with you. I just kind of eyeball what I like, and then I'll leave a bit of extra for later. That's one thing with the mozzarella. I want to leave this extra mozzarella because I'll end up spreading this on top of the dish, on top of the shells, and getting a nice cheese layer on top later. That's not in the mixture. Okay, guys, I've got my mixture ready to go. It's really nice and mixed. It's a good consistency of all the cheeses and the sausage, and then I've got the parsley in there for color. Now comes the messy part, where I'm going to take my shells and I'm going to start stuffing them. You can do this a couple different ways. You can use a spoon and just scoop it into the shell and stuff it. I've also used a piping bag. A piping bag is nice because it can be a little bit less messy and it kind of fills the shells in nicely. But it can also be a little bit more difficult because your meat can get stuck in that piping bag. So you just kind of can try out a couple different methods and use whichever one you prefer. Okay, guys, so I've got my casserole dish here. I've got it. I've got a little bit of oil down on that just to help it non-stick. I'm also going to take some of my marinara sauce. This is the marinara sauce I got. This is just an Aldi brand and a kind that I like personally. And what I want to do before I start stuffing shells and putting them in the dish, I'm going to lay down just maybe half of this first container of sauce. Okay, so I'm just going to pour this in here. I'm going to kind of spread it around and try to get it somewhat evenly spread. This just kind of makes a nice little bed of pasta sauce to put the shells on when you get started. Again, the dish is kind of oiled up for non-stick, and then I just put the pasta sauce down to give it a nice little bed. Okay, so I've got my first shell here. You can see this one's broken. That's fine. Some of them will be broken like that when you get them out. I've got my spoon. I'm just going to take a spoonful of filling and, again, just fill it up. It can be overflowing. I kind of make it a shell, and then I just lay it right there in the dish like that. Again, this is where things start to get messy. It's just fill a shell, set it down, get the next shell. Again, even if they're broken, that's fine. It's all going to cook the same. This is where it gets difficult. Stuffing it together. That one's not that pretty. This one's a little bit better here. So again, it's like using your fingers to kind of spread the shell apart, getting it stuffed. And this is another thing. It's kind of up to you, like how stuffed you want them to be, how many you want to have in a dish. You can really like squeeze these together and put a lot more in here, or you can, leave it with a little bit of spacing. You can overly stuff them and stuff is just overflowing everywhere. Again, this is more of a preference thing. I like them pretty stuffed. I don't mind if they're messy. Again, it all kind of cooks the same and ends up the same. So I'm going to work through these, get all my shells stuffed and into the dish, and then I'll come back and we'll move on to the next step. All right, guys, I have stuffed all my shells. You can see here I've got actually plenty of filling left over. So like I said, I usually like to make more than I need just to be sure, and I did. I could probably squeeze a couple more shells in here, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know what I did in cooking the shells this time, but this was one of the worst thing of shells I've ever done. Every single one of them were broken and just made it really difficult to stuff. So this is a little bit messier than it normally looks, but once you've got your shells stuffed and in the pan, then you're just going to evenly spread some more of the sauce around. Finish that first bottle off there. Now I'm going to come in here to my second bottle. and continue to spread this around. Just try to get a nice even coat over all the stuffed shells. And there we go. Now, before I put this in the oven, I'm going to top it with a little bit more Parmesan cheese. And a little bit more mozzarella cheese. Okay. And I'm going to cover this with aluminum foil. Okay, guys, I've got my stuffed shells dish. It's covered with aluminum foil. I'm going to put it into the oven and I'm going to bake it for 20 to 25 minutes. And then once that's done, I'm going to take the aluminum foil off, finish it off with some more mozzarella cheese, and bake it for another like 10 minutes. Okay, guys, it's been 25 minutes. The dish is done. I'm going to pull it out of the oven, take the aluminum foil off, and add some cheese and put it back in the oven. All right, guys, I'm going to take my remaining mozzarella here. Like I said, I like a lot of cheese, so I'm going to load it up. All right, this is ready to go. I'm going to put it back in the oven. Probably go another 10 minutes or so. All right, guys, it's that magical moment. It is done. I'm going to pull it out of the oven and we'll see how it looks. Nice melted cheese on top. The sauce is boiling. There we have it, folks. Stuffed shells from start to finish. I'm going to plate a little bit of this up, and of course, I got to do a taste test for you. Okay, guys, we've got the finished product here. Going to take a bite of this and see how it is. Yeah, it's really good. I can taste the Italian sausage, lots of cheese. The shell's a good consistency. All right, guys, it turned out great. Let me know what you think of these cooking videos. And if you want me to continue to make cooking videos, let me know. Hey, please like and subscribe to the channel. It's free to do. It really helps the channel out, helps me out, helps get these videos in front of more eyes. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.